I'd like to invite Mr. Julian Opuni, the Managing Director of Fidelity Bank, to do us the honors of being our moderator for the next session. Shall we welcome him, please? And he will lead a panel discussion on investment opportunities in Ghana. To join him to do that, first of all, I'll ask the Ashanti Regional Minister, Simon Osei-Mensah, to take his seat up there. And then also one man whom I'm sure lots of questions will be asked of, because he's in charge of our natural resources. Please welcome Anso Kyereme, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources. I'd also like to invite from the Ghana Free Zones Authority, the Deputy Executive Secretary in charge of Corporate Affairs. Please welcome Mrs. Kate Abio to join us up there. And then also joining us, Mr. Solomon Asamoah, who's the Chief Executive of the Ghana Infrastructure and Investment Fund, going up now to join us. And then finally, we'd like to also invite the Minister for Business Development, Mohammed Awal, to join us. We're not sure if he's here yet, but if he is, we'd appreciate if he joins us. Well, he's not here, but we'll get a game rolling. If you have a feeling you wanted to join, but you've done your presentation, Mr. Youth, you're going to take his place, just in case there are any questions. Thank you, Yofi. And so at this point, I'll leave the talking and moderation to Mr. Julian Opuni. Julian, it's yours.
Thank you. And welcome to all our panelists. I understand we'll have a session with the Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta a bit later on. I think he will speak to us a few Q&As. So we'll focus a lot on everybody who's on here, who primarily impacts on what we're trying to achieve here, making Ghana an attractive destination for foreign direct investment. So we know that a lot of major economies have grown leveraging on FDI. And in recent times, there's been discussions around the quality of that investment. And what does the investment, that quality mean? And it's about the impact on the people of the host country. It's also about exchange. I think there were discussions yesterday in the keynote speaker who spoke about transfer of technology, transfer of know-how, and boosting competitiveness of the domestic firms and enabling access to markets. So to start off with the panel, I would just like to, I'll start with our host, the regional minister. Every region has their own special investment opportunities, resources that they've been provided with. So from where you sit, maybe for the people here present, you can give us an indication of what the investment opportunities are within the Ashanti region, and more importantly, what you are doing with regards to creating visibility on those opportunities.
Right, thank you very much. Ashanti region has a lot of investment opportunities, and it's unique among all the 16 regions of the country. Ashanti region has the largest population of about 5.6 million, with its capital being Kumasi which has about 2.7 million population. In the area of investments, we have three key areas. We have the agriculture, we have industry, we have services and commerce. In the area of agriculture, due to the location of the region, we have tropical forests as well as savanna. This type of vegetative cover lends itself to a lot of agricultural opportunities. Commercial farming and cash crops like cocoa, cashew, oil palm, citrus, etc. And then we have the vegetables where we can talk about maybe planting cucumber, tomatoes, carrots, etc. These exotic vegetables which we can export to other foreign countries and use some of them locally. Besides that, now maize cultivation, rice cultivation is also of paramount importance because Ghana imports a lot of food products which include maize and rice and other items. In the northern part of the Ashanti region, the climate and the vegetation, the soil is very good for maize, commercial maize cultivation, cashew, and other things. Again, besides the agricultural sector, within the agricultural sector, we can talk about poultry. And the major areas of investment in the poultry sector is poultry farming, processing of poultry products, then poultry feed is also a major problem. Most of our poultry products are expensive as a result of inadequacy of the poultry feed, and for that matter, also leading to high prices of this poultry feed. The production of the old chicks also is another potential area for investment. We have the animal husbandry, we have cattle, we have goats, we have piggery. All these areas are very good areas of investment. And especially in Ashanti region, the area of cattle rearing, we are looking for investors that will bring in modern forms of technology in rearing cattle, because cattle rearing has been the normal nomadic type in the region and is causing a lot of problems. It's one of the major security threats within the region because the cattle graze openly and sometimes there's conflict between the cattle rearers and then the food crop farmers. So we are looking for potential investors who will bring in modern forms of rearing cattle which will not have negative consequences or impact on the food crop sector. Because as we need meat to eat, we also need food to eat. And we cannot allow the cattle to destroy the food crops. Besides that, we have the industrial sector, mining, gold refinery is a potential area. The bauxite, we have bauxite in Yenehini. Maybe an integrated aluminum factory is also another important area that investors can invest. We have manufacturing, agro-processing. Processing of cocoa. Cocoa has into potash for the processing of, or the production of soap. We also have processing of cashew. And then maize. We have the processing of soya beans into cooking oil, etc. And besides that, if you come to Kumasi, for instance, we have an industrial area where we call Swami Magazine. These are very good people who have been producing spare parts using old forms of technology. I think if we can get a strategic investor to partner them, they can develop these spare parts to a higher level and even possibly result in having an assembly, automobile assembly plant within that enclave. Then,
thank you very much, Regional Minister. I know that there's a few. We'll come back to some of the. Okay, maybe you
Okay.
add one or two more.
Since we are in Ashanti region, let me add tourism, and then maybe I can end. Ashanti region has a very rich culture. And in the area of tourism, we have two key tourism areas. That is cultural tourism and then ecotourism. Lake Bosomtwi, which is the only natural lake in West Africa, which was formed by meteorite reactions some 2 million years ago, lent itself to an integrated international tourism development center. In those areas, the areas of investment include developing five-star hotels, very good hotels, and then even the development of a cable car. Because of the crater, you have mountains surrounding the crater, and we can develop a cable car system which will not only attract external tourism, but to rather boost more domestic tourism. And this will give a lot of revenue to the state and to the region. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Regional Ministers. So it felt as if it's like going to a restaurant when you're very hungry and there's about a 40-page menu, and there's so much that you don't even know what to choose. So thank you very much for that, Mr. I'm sure there's a lot more, and maybe after this we can have discussions on those. But I think on a more serious note, it's important to note that the underinvestment in Africa, where we probably hold the most arable land, over the last few years, is probably going to have an impact on the price of food as a commodity in the future. And therefore, some of the policies that we hear from the government, etc., it's important that we actually execute on those policies and actually direct the right quality of investment into growing that. I'd like to come to Mr. Solomon Asamoah on infrastructure. So to make the country attractive for investment, most investors will be looking at some of the fundamental basics. You know, access to ports, reliable supply of energy, and I'll touch a bit on institutions that work. But we'll come to that in a minute. So maybe Mr. Asamoah can give us a bit of a visibility on one side on joint opportunities for investment around the infrastructure blueprint that the government has put together, and then from where you sit, some of the projects that you're working on going forward, which can impact positively on creating that positive tone around Ghana's infrastructure development program.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. So for those of you who are not familiar, the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund is a vehicle that was established by the government of Ghana to develop and invest in infrastructure assets throughout Ghana and to try and leverage private sector investments into the infrastructure sectors within Ghana. The government, to its credit, provided us with $250 million of anchor equity, and then went out and told us, try and work with private sector and bring in private sector projects into infrastructure. Infrastructure, I would say, is probably one of the hardest areas to attract private sector in for two main reasons. Number one, it's a long-term investment. So if you're going to invest in ports or airports or bridges, it's going to take you quite a while to get before you can get your returns. You will straddle a couple of political cycles, etc., so it raises the risks. The second reason why is because private sector involvement in infrastructure is still relatively new. Only the last maybe 10, 20 years it's really taken off in Africa. So it's a new sector and it requires long-term financing. So the government decided to put its money where its mouth is and try and leverage private sector funding by creating this separate vehicle. And I think they should be commended for it. What have we done so far? So in less than about 2 years, we've identified and put together about 8 projects. All of you who will have come through the airport in Accra would have seen the beautiful new terminal. That was the first financing that the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund did. We put some debt in there along with Africa Development Bank and other DFIs to provide long-term financing to complete the airport. Another focus areas for us has been the power sector. We've identified 2 power projects which will make a huge difference to Ghana. One of them, at the moment, Ghana is flaring gas from the oil fields. one of our projects will take that flared gas and use it to convert into electricity. So it'll have very positive environmental impacts. The other project that we're looking at will be the largest and the cheapest power IPP in Ghana's history. So it will lower the average price of power to the consumers. We've also been very busy in the ports area. As everybody knows, Ghana's largest port is Tema Port, but Takoradi Port, the second port, also has huge potential. So we've been investing and developing the Takoradi Port, and we will announce in a couple of weeks that we've raised the initial $200 million of external financing to put into that expansion, with a further $200 million towards the end of the year. We have also looked at the ICT sector, the telecom sector, and we've formed a joint venture company partnership to lay terrestrial fiber along the western corridor of Ghana, which will allow cheaper connectivity and bandwidth. And as one of the areas which has been highlighted for Ghana is the ICT sector and all of the innovation that's going there. So there are a number of other projects that we've done, but a couple of points that I really want to make is that Ghana starts from a very good position, as highlighted by my friend Yofi Grant's presentation earlier. People want to invest in Ghana. They want to come to Ghana. They're looking for opportunities. We have a good public relations reputation outside of there. So that gives us a good starting point. What we need to do, all we need to do as a country is really facilitate and take those initial interests of investments and de-risk them and allow more to come. And that is what Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund is here for. We like to partner with private sector investors and help them navigate through the infrastructure sectors in Ghana. One last point I want to leave with you. For every dollar that we've put into a project, we've managed to raise $12 of other people's money into those investments. So I think it's a good return on the Minister's investment in Ghana Infrastructure Fund. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much for that. And I think it's quite interesting to hear the impact of the joint investment opportunities and, making more for every single dollar. Yesterday, I think His Majesty mentioned about this forum being one of the first ever out of the center of Ghana and happening here in Kumasi. So we will, over the discussion, try and tailor a bit more to focus also on the investment opportunities within the region, but we'll try and create a balance with the general economy of Ghana. So the regional minister spoke a lot about extractive, spoke a lot about agric, and I'd like to move to the Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources because it impacts positively on that. And maybe again, from the start of things, the policies and the things that you're working on currently in that area that creates that investment opportunity for investors here present.
Thank you. I'm grateful. From where I sit, lands and natural resource, we have a lot of investment opportunities, more particularly in Ashanti region, as you mentioned. In Ashanti region, we have a place known and called Nyinahini for purposes of bauxite. The minerals are available over here, and we have them as well in other areas at Atiwa. Ashanti region is endowed with this particular mineral bauxite, and not that alone. It is also endowed with gold. And for some time now, the biggest mine at Obuasi was closed down. But by the hard work of the current government, the MPP government, this mine has come back to being. And the opportunities that we will see from this end is not only mining gold, other people have gotten contractual opportunities liaising with the AGC itself, Anglo Gold, and others also having third-party contractual relationship. Food vendors are also getting this opportunity also to do. Employment opportunities are also available. All said and done about Ashanti region. Minerals in general in Ghana, currently we are dealing with iron and steel. And the purposes of this iron and steel is well known to all of us. And we have gone to the extent of putting all our processes by way of putting a bill before Parliament for Parliament to come out with laws of which the President will assent to regulate that particular system. So investors that will come into that field to deal with iron and steel will be so comfortable as the law will guide them. The law will regulate their movement. The law will regulate the opportunity that they will get. Now that we have very stable political environment and together with very good judicial system, as our laws are going to be interpreted in a manner that will be so suitable and comfortable to investors or prospective investors, this particular field helps a lot. So those of us here, investors who are interested in coming by way of joint venture, this opportunity is open to all of you. We equally have the other opportunity of dealing with other minerals like salt, which are bound in Ghana, and in West Africa we are leading. For about 500 kilometers at the coastline, we have enough salt, and salt can be used for so many other processes of which investors are well known of. We entreat you to take this opportunity to come. Of late, people are talking of, it's something that we cannot hide. We will have to mention all that to you so you assess before you put your money over here. People are talking of illegal mining, popularly known in Ghana, Galamsey, but the government has taken all frantic efforts to fight it, though we have not been able to eliminate it outright. But about 75–80% success has been achieved in that particular field. So should you decide to invest in mining, your investment will be protected. The state will not make sure that this investment go waste. Indeed, Ghana is blessed to the extent that we have 14 large-scale mining companies over here. And through that direct investment, foreign direct investment, we have gotten about $20 billion. And like Oliver Twist, we still crave for more. And we are pleading with you, we are craving your indulgence that you do more, you come. The system is very good for you to invest in Ghana. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, Minister, just to go slightly deeper with regards to creating the regulation and creating a sense of order for investors. It seems like very good news. What is the plan around creating the education out there for people to know that these inroads have been made, these steps have been made? I assume it's in collaboration with the likes of GIPC, etc. Because sometimes these things are put in place and we don't actually make enough noise about the impact and the fact that we've got a new, if you like, bow in our hat. So are there plans around, once it's all gone through, carrying it forward to the investor population and also players within the market locally?
Write-up that has been put up together by the Geological Survey Department Authority and the Minerals Commission and the technical directors of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And very soon, within 2 weeks, we will be in a position to unveil all this to the general public. Indeed, there was a caucus meeting at International Conference Center done by the Inner Circle, where all such steps were discussed, and very soon we'll make it known to the general public. Thank you.
And then we'll move to our country PR guru, Mr. Yofi Grant. A slightly different angle to things. I think that there are a lot of obvious challenges. You know, we don't have a perfect position, but sometimes misconceptions are put forward as challenges. And it'll be good to hear from you some of the inroads that have been made with regards to creating that conducive environment for investment. So I know you kind of touched on it initially, but it'd be good to reiterate it on the point of separating misconception from the reality of the challenges that we're dealing with.
Thank you very much. But first of all, I would like to also say that from GIPC, I didn't come alone. I came with my board. So my board members, if you can just wave out so that you can see you, so that you don't fire all the questions at me afterwards. There are board members here that we can also speak. I think you mentioned a very interesting, you relate a very interesting scenario because change in itself is difficult, and embracing change is difficult. And I mean, it's not just in Ghana. In many economies, there have been headwinds from the political economy against reforms, and because sometimes the reforms are not clearly understood. And we are not immunized from that as well. And so we do see quite a number of, situations where there needs to be clarity on what the impact of the reforms are. But the truth of the matter is, in today's world, the investment arena is extremely competitive. And so even as we go out there to attract investment, we have to ensure that we deliver what we say we will deliver. That's one. But secondly, we also create a conducive environment through regulation that would make it attractive. It's interesting because I speak to my contemporaries in Côte d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and Senegal, and they are also engaged in significant reforms of their market and regulatory reforms, and it's become extremely competitive. There was a time when I was traveling from Dubai back to Ghana, and I noticed that the business class was full because I was sitting there, but the first class too was also full because every now and then I take a stroll to see who's there. But when the flight landed in Accra, only 3 of us got down in Accra. The rest of the people, who I presume to be business people, because they did look like business people, you can always tell, were going to Abidjan. So my mind wondered, why are they not coming to Accra and they are going to Abidjan? And for me, that's a challenge that I need to break, because I think that if you look at it objectively, you look at where it's easier to do business, but also where you can, make your money, take it back, where the regulatory frameworks are attractive, where there's peace, where there's political stability, many of which Ghana definitely trumps the other surrounding countries. So at GIPC, we are engaged in a significant reform of our law to make it competitive, but also to deliver what we say we will deliver and make sure that Ghana stays on top, taking advantage of the opportunities that we have. But those, they're still there. The competitiveness between countries is still there. What we have done in Ghana is to approach it in 2 ways: investment competitiveness and the business environment. The business environment reforms is a coordination between Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ministry of Business Development, the Ministry of Finance, and GIPC. And is to list the number of things which make us uncompetitive and use a guillotine approach to remove them, but also to create a better environment, not just for foreign direct investment, but for business, including Ghanaian business people. So that's very important. On the other hand, the investment competitiveness is about what would make Ghana attractive to foreign direct investment but also create space for direct indigenous investment. And so we are actively engaged in those two. We are happy to discuss, and when we come out with new acts, we will discuss with the market and see how acceptable it is. But yes, very often in reforms, you come across some headwinds, but you have to ensure that there is enough transparency and understanding why you are doing that.
Ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, this is a break. It is not coffee break yet, but I'd like to acknowledge the arrival and presence of Nana Bantamahene, who represents His Majesty Otumfuo, the Asante Hene. He's coming in to join us now. Shall we please acknowledge him? Thank you. Nana Bantamahene to represent Otumfuo. Please be seated, thank you. Nana Bantamahene, you're welcome. Akwaaba, thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, so I think I'll move on to Mrs. Abio. And thanks for, I know you're stepping in for free zones, but inadvertently it means that we've created the gender balance on the panel as well. So there's a positive, every cloud has a silver lining, so thank you for being part of this. I think from the free zones, and this is going to be slightly inward looking, there's sometimes a general concept with regards to the whole free zones policy that you're looking at foregone revenue. However, that is not something to worry about if the benefits outweigh that foregone revenue. So from where you sit again, from the free zones point, what are some of the things or policies that you think you've embarked on recently that is creating this positive environment for investment into Ghana?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. And a very good Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and a very good morning to Nana Bantamahene, Your Excellencies and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. A little comment though, I think your panel is still not gender sensitive. I shouldn't have been the Lone Ranger, and I'm appearing by default. Yes. The Ghana Free Zones regime was brought into being in 1995 with a clear mandate to regulate and monitor and, of course, facilitate investments into Ghana's free zones. And I think we have lived to prove that, indeed, even though the country forgoes revenue by way of tax waivers, the benefits far outweigh what we give out as a country. And I will start with export diversification. Ghana is noted for its rich gold deposits. We have been exporting gold, some time back, timber, and cocoa. But I think there is the justification to encourage investments into value-added manufacturing processes, manufacturing activities. So as I speak now, we are not, as a country, exporting cocoa, just cocoa in its raw state. We have quite a number of companies that add value to Ghana's premium cocoa. are not just adding value to cocoa, and I'm just touching on the agric sector, but we have shea butter, which is being processed. The shea nuts are being processed at our enclaves, our free zone areas, and single factory areas into secondary, and I would say tertiary products now. We also have companies that have invested in manufacturing apparel, the likes of BT, RT Apparel, which are exporting jeans, sweatpants to the United States under the AGOA scheme. So yes, we are giving fabulous tax incentives, but just within the agric sector, we are diversifying the number of products that we now find in our export markets. And the list is endless. The policy consideration for the free zone regime has also been to engender creation of employment. And to date, the free zones regime has successfully contributed in the creation of employment in excess of 40,000. And I am particularly interested in the indirect generation of employment, sustaining the livelihoods of a lot more Ghanaians than the ones that you find on the payrolls. And I like citing examples. Let's take the case of shea nuts. Once we have a processing plant in Ghana, the result is that it is sustaining the livelihoods of the pickers, the women who pick the nuts at the 3 northern regions, and all the other people along the value chain, the haulage trucks, the caterers who cater for the needs of the employees on site, and of course, a lot more. They would retain solicitors and pay them. So in terms of indirect creation of employment, the figures are way more than what you would actually find on the payroll of these free zone enterprises. And of course, once we are talking about value-added processes, yes, the free zone regime targets export-oriented companies. The companies that we license by law have to export at least 70% of what they annually produce. And of course, in terms of the export proceeds, it comes back to Ghana to strengthen our CD. We can also look in the area of development of local skills and technology transfer. The first free zone company that set up at the Tema Export Processing Zone was a cocoa processing company, Barry Calibu. From inception, the top management staff members were all expatriates. But as we speak, the plant is being managed by indigenous Ghanaians. And I'm proud to say that the MD is a young woman like me. So yes, they have been very sensitive to gender consideration. So the plant is being managed by a young woman. So yes, we give a lot by way of tax incentives. The companies we license enjoy a tax holiday of 10 years. The imports they require for their processes come in duty-free. But it is a win-win for both government and the investor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think I have to stand corrected. Gender representation is very different from gender balance. And so there's some gender representation. However, in my defense, I must state that, just from the response, impact of women on development of any nation, maybe it's still fairly balanced 5-1. Because you do have, you still equal 5 of us, so it's still a huge impact on the development. Having said that, it means I don't get to sleep on the couch tonight because maybe I can save myself. We'll come back to the regional minister. I think one of the challenges that we face normally is when you speak to external investors, they talk about the packaging, and I think I'll come to you, Mr. Grant, as well. When it comes to investment opportunities, external, and again, I think to Solomon as well, you know, they normally want, they have an understanding of exactly how our investment opportunities need to be packaged to make it attractive to their investors. I'll start from the Ashanti region, and then we'll move across to Mr. Grant and to Solomon. Are there any defined, obvious projects in the Ashanti region, you know, currently that we're working on? And in addition, is there a need for us to have further dialogue around support for the region with regards to creating an investment opportunity that is attractive and can be presented and you know, directs the right level of investment, quality investment into the region?
All right. Thank you. Yes, we have some specific investment areas. One, you know, most of our artists come from Ashanti region, but we don't even have a theater for performances in Ashanti region. Apart from the National Theater in Accra, we don't have one here. And we need a national theater standard here in Kumasi. Also, we don't have a large conference center to take on board international conferences. So we realize that most of the large international conferences are held in Accra. I think we need to decentralize. We need a large, spacious international conference center here in Kumasi. If you go to the Central Business District area, there's a lot of congestion because we don't have any multi-story car park. It's a very good area of investment. We need a multi-story car park within the central business area if we truly want to decongest Kumasi. The other one, road. We need road, an outer road. We have Greater Kumasi. An outer ring road that will take off most of the vehicles entering Kumasi, but have no business in the central business district area. Maybe because of the centrality of the region. We have vehicles from Accra, from other parts of the country, going maybe to the north, going to some of our neighboring countries. But because we don't have this outer ring road, they all have to come to the center of Kumasi before they cross to wherever they are going. If we have an outer ring road, they just join the outer ring road. They won't interfere with businesses in the central business area, join whichever route they want, and it will decongest the city center and make business within the city also quite easy. Besides that, we need an aircraft maintenance center. We could make Kumasi the aircraft maintenance hub for the West African sub-region. All the countries in the West African sub-region, there's no aircraft maintenance center. So anytime any airline needs to maintain its aircraft, it will have to fly back to Europe or maybe to the US to do that. And I think if we could have one here, it will be excellent for us. If you look at the airport area, we want to develop it into an airport city so that we have decent accommodation, and also we reduce some of the filth around the airport area, which has been bringing some birds, which are dangerous to aircrafts when they are flying out and when they are landing. So we need to change the scenery around the airport area and have an airport city. We also need to redevelop housing system and the museums for Menchia. If we are saying Ashanti region has very rich culture, we need where we can take the tourists to for them to see what we have in the richness of our culture. The other one, this particular forum that we are having today, I think we can make it annual event. And that annual event should tie into some of their festivals, like the Ekesi Festival, where people will come and witness the rich culture of the Ashantis. For instance, as we are here, those people who have come in for the first time have not even witnessed how Otumfor rides in Paraquin, how he behaves, how the chiefs assemble, nothing. But if we have an annually organized investment forum like this, we can add on other activities to make it richer, and then it will attract investors every year. So that it will not be only one-time event. We go back, maybe the few investors we might win, and it ends there. We can develop this particular event into an annual investment forum.
Thank you very much, Regional Minister. So maybe to Mr. Samoa first, with regards to packaging investment opportunities, you've obviously been successful when you say you match $12 for every dollar spent. So what are some of the considerations that we need to take in with regards to creating attractive opportunities for investment?
Yes, thank you. I think the first thing I would say is that investors and financiers have specific criteria that they need to see before they will invest in a project. And it's for us as Ghanaians to make sure that our projects fit into their criteria rather than the other way around, usually. Because if they're not satisfied, they won't write a check. And at the end of the day, it's the investment that we require. A couple of key areas that I would point out. Typically, there's a shortage of equity in projects that we're looking for financing for. And typically, equity has been relatively in short supply among Ghanaian institutions and Ghanaian individuals, which has meant too many times that we've had to rely on foreign ownership for our projects. The Ghana Infrastructure Fund is trying to break that. We have the ability to write a check for equity, and so we can be an anchor investor and then leverage international financing. So that's an important component that we can add. The other area is kind of obvious. If anybody came to you and asked you to lend them some money, what are the questions that you will ask? Like, have you done it before? What are you going to use the money for? How can I be sure that if you make money, you'll repay me? Things of that nature. So we have to make sure that our projects are packaged in the appropriate way that we can answer those questions. And as I said, I have no doubt that when we do that, the appetite and interest in investing in Ghana is extremely high.
Excellent. So I'd like to, at this stage, we're going to pause for a coffee break, but take the opportunity to thank all our panelists. The Honorable Simon Osei-Mensah, Ashanti Regional Minister, Mrs. Kate Abio from Free Zones, Mr. Solomon Asamoah, Ghana Infrastructure and Investment Fund, Mr. Yofi Grant from GIPC, and the Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Mr. Honorable Kweku Asuma-Kyereme. Thank you very much for taking part. And after this session, we're obviously going to have something from the Honorable Minister for Finance, and there'll be further discussions and further engagements over coffee. Thank you very much.